Yes, maybe it was a cop-out, but what do? You got one night left, and you got to choose a song. And I thought, we've been talking about making music, and you guys have been sharing your music with me. So tonight, I'm sharing my music with you. That's actually a new demo that we were working on today, and it's by my band, Techno Squirrels. And there you go. Google it if you want. That one's not out yet, though. So hi, here it is. I can't believe on May 2nd, I never thought I'd be saying it, but it's the end of Music Making Month. It's our final event, and I'm a little verklempt. I'm a little teary-eyed. I've enjoyed the month with you guys, and I'm sure we'll be seeing each other again, but let's not even get into goodbyes yet. Let's get into hellos, and let's welcome our guest tonight. His name is, he's A Guy Called Gerald. I guess we could call him Gerald for short. Or A Guy for short. But let's bring him on and say hello. Give him your best welcome, chat room. Say hello to the internet, Gerald.
Hey, how are you doing? Hi.
So how are you? You're coming to us from Berlin, right?
Yeah.
How is Berlin?
It's been the weather's really nice today, but then it's kind of changed. It's gone a little bit overcast, and we had a bit of thunder, but it's getting better. But I'm in the studio, and I've got no windows in here, so it's always nighttime. For
those people that don't know, in the States at least, Berlin has become quite the art hotspot of Europe right now, right? I mean, it's if I may use an outdated analogy, it's the Seattle of Europe.
That's right, yeah.
Is that what brought you out to Berlin? Because coming from the UK scene.
Yeah, well, kind of. I was here. I think at the beginning of it in a way. About 7 years ago, I think I came out here, and there's a lot of. I came to basically to do a project with K7, and then I kind of decided to stay, so I'm still here.
Gotcha. Well, I wanted to. We want to talk to you obviously about your live setup, your use of Reason, and all that stuff tonight. But I think I would be shirking my duty as a curious musician if I didn't talk to you a little bit about the acid house scene, the early UK acid house scene, and how that scene was. Can you shed some light on it? Actually, I guess maybe you could, for the people that are watching that don't know much about it, could you give them a crash course in UK acid house?
Well, it kind of started in, in Manchester it kind of started in about 1986, and it was kind of like a really alternative dance thing. It kind of developed into more of a kind of trendy thing in maybe the late 90s. The late 80s, and then by the early 90s, it was like its own full-on scene. It kind of blew up. Right.
Yeah, and quite a bit. I was just watching the movie Tron Legacy, the new Tron movie,
right.
over the weekend, right? And movie goes on and everything's groovy, and then it kicks into the end credit song, and there is that 303, cranking along, that classic acid house sort of 303. You were there when that sound was developed. What was that like? What gravitated you guys to the 303 as a sound?
I think it was a bit personal for me. I think a lot of other people found it later, but I kind of found it in 1986, and I was basically what tuned me into it was the price of it was really cheap, and so I bought one, for about 50 quid or something like that.
See, this is hard for us to imagine when they were really cheap.
And then back then though, it was being played on like electro funk type stuff. I think like people like Nucleus and like Arthur Baker might have had one. He had the 808 and stuff like that. So I was basically following that style of music, the electro funk stuff, and I was always trying to get hold of like the equipment that you kind of needed to do that.
Right.
Like, you know, and like that, the 303 was one of the things that I kind of acquired back then, like cheap kind of digital. Well, before digital, cheap analog stuff.
Right. Moldy Boy from the forums is asking a question from the chat. Is asking a question about what drew you to acid house in general. I mean, the genre. Was it even called acid house when you got involved with it?
Yeah, it was basically Chicago. I mean, like this stuff came over from Chicago as American imports, and I decided that, I mean, like the machines that I had basically were more of they were kind of, it was easier to fit into that mold with them, so I kind of experimented. I had like this little kind of group together called the Scratch Beat Masters, and we were doing like cutting and scratching, and I would basically just use the drum machines and synths as like background stuff. But then like that was on the weekends, and in the week I used to do my own experiments with the acid house thing. So and it's like really early days. I started sending demos into the radio station, because I heard that they were playing a lot of this Chicago stuff, and like they asked for demos and stuff from people, and like a load of people were sending in stuff where they were trying to fake the acid sound with like kind of like DX7s and stuff like this. And yeah, obviously like they took a shining to my stuff because it was authentic.
Right, yeah, right.
In them days I used to be called Jackmaster G.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's got that old school hip hop. I'm Jackmaster G.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. That's great.
We was coming out at that time, So
yeah, right. That's great. And so, the funny thing for me, and I think a lot of people nowadays to appreciate, is when we use a 303, or more likely when we use something like Rebirth. When we interact with the interface of a 303, it is not intuitive. Is that the right word? It's not something. It's something that we learn to use because we want to hear the sound.
Yeah.
But how was it for you guys? I mean, when you started actually playing around with the 303, was it?
Well, the first thing I did was like, because when I got it, it was kind of. It's like still in the box, and I got the manual and all that kind of thing, and I kind of tried to read through the easy part. There was two parts of the manual. There was like an advanced level and an easy one, but even the easy one was a little bit hard to understand. I think it was like translated from Japanese
right
into German, I think, and then English, something like that, which just did not make sense. So you basically turned it on, and like they're all different, and every single machine seemed to be different. There was like, I think one of the first machines I had, like I used to find my best technique was to take the batteries out and then put them back in again, and it would come up with all sorts of weird stuff.
Wow.
But then like just over the years I kind of got into actually using it as, like writing with it and stuff, and finding out different ways how to actually work it with other instruments and stuff. And I started to do the old CV and gate thing with it, where I'd CV and gate it to the SH-101, and I also used to like just press down. I can't remember. Hang on a second. Because I don't really use it that much anymore, because I've got into using like Reason. So
right.
I used to hold down the function button, I think it was,
I love that you even still have the 303 within arm's length.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
I held down the pitch mode, and then I could basically play each riff in a different key. So that way you could basically tune it to what you wanted. So it was a little bit more kind of controlled rather than just like jamming around. But when I first got it, I used to just jam around on it. But then I found how to actually write like proper patterns in there, and then from things got a little bit kind of easier with it.
Somebody asked in the chat room here, they're noticing some of the toys you have in the background there of the shot, and they were wondering, are those things that you still use? Or
they're kind of museum pieces now.
Yeah.
A few bits and pieces I have lying around. No, but I do actually, every now and again, I'll like plug bits in and sample them and use them. But like I think I was lucky to have been around in the analog days, kind of pre MIDI, and before the internet. So like I couldn't download sounds. I had to actually synthesize them. So I kind of got that ear from then. So
right.
Like, when it comes to using something like say like a subtractor or something like that, I can actually kind of tune in a way my own 303s from there.
Huh.
So then I can take them out on the road then, and well, take the computers out and leave the real stuff at home, you know.
Right. There's a question from Grummo in the chat room. He wants to know, did you use samplers, and do you? But at the time that you were doing in the late '80s and early '90s, were you using samplers, or was it all pure synth based?
Mainly synth. A sampler was like a really kind of expensive thing. If you was rich enough, you would have like a synclavier or like a Fairlight. You know, that was back then. They were like as much as a house.
Yeah.
But there were some little cheap samplers that you can get, and like some of the studios you'd go to, they would have like one of these samplers in there. I think like one of the very first A Guy samplers I used when I think the first time was on the New Build album with 808 State. And it had a really interesting little tool on there where you could actually scroll from the start point, and at the same time with another tool you could do, like, it was all manual and all, so you could do like a reverse and a scroll at the same time. It was amazing. Wow. Like in real time. It
is so funny to me to think about, just to hear what you're saying, that you know, in 1986 you were working on a 303 because it was cheap and not on a sampler because it was too expensive, and you go 10 years in the future, in 1996 for example, and everyone's working on samplers with 303 samples because the 303 is too expensive and the samplers are affordable.
The script has flipped.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Yes. You know, and now they're all, you know, they're both gone, and now we're just in our laptops and It's or on our iPads, you know, in the case of
beautiful though. I love it. I absolutely. I'm kind of for me, I'm living my version of Tron. You know, I'm in the computer.
Right, on the grid, right. So, well, what was your? I guess then, can you tell us about your transition to computer-based production, and then we'll get on to your live-based stuff as well. But what got you out of the boxes and into the box, as it were?
Well, believe it or not, it was like around about 2001 or 2.
Wow.
And I'd turn up for this gig with like I don't know, 220 kilos of samplers and like rack bits and pieces, all like into a line mixer, and you know, I had to go to cargo with it at the airport to take everything in, and I just got really, I was like, I can't be doing this for too long. Got to the gig, and there was another band who were playing there too, and they turned up with a couple of laptops and some controllers and stuff, and like they were laughing at me, you know. I was like, oh, okay.
The times have changed.
Yeah, exactly. I need to change a few things here, so.
But yeah, so you didn't do the Rebirth era then, did you?
I kind of I seen it actually. When I first saw it, I was gonna get it, but like I would have had to get a computer to get it, and I didn't really have a computer in them days.
And when you've got an 808 and a 909 and a 303, it's like, what I guess then that becomes the computer becomes the bigger cost of entry.
Yeah, well, the thing was, there was a step and all from the actual hardware. I moved into sampling, and I actually went out on the road for a bit with like an MPC 60, and like that was sat on top of my rack of like samplers and stuff like that. That was like the brain kind of thing, and then. Because I didn't really want to take the drum machines and things out on the road anymore because they were getting smashed up. And I could kind of see the price of them raising, and they were getting really rare. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that for too long.
Right.
And so I moved from that to the samplers, and then like the samplers and stuff got a bit heavy in the box. So I had to move to the software. And actually, for me now, I actually find it a little bit restricting going back to just using hardware now, because there are certain sounds that I like to create, even if I'm using like the old school kind of sounds, and like say like I've got a snare drum or something from a 808, and I want to kind of instantly just add like a bit of reverb or reverse it, or there's all these things that I've got used to over the last, I don't know, like 10 years, I think, and like going back to using the analog stuff for me is a little bit restrictive. But I know it's really cool for everyone, and I shouldn't be saying that, but
but you know what I have found is that the people that worked a lot with analog gear back in the day don't miss it, and the people who didn't work with it, it's almost like you have this sort of nostalgia lust if you never experienced it, that you think, oh my god, the sound was amazing, and I wish I could have done it. But the people who did it were like, yeah, well, it sounded good, kind of, but it was a pain in the ass, and so I think I've seen that from people that have transitioned through that era to this, that they don't pull out the old stuff very often unless it's a specific sound that they gotta get to,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I was also I used to do my own kind of weird training. I remember when I first got like an SH-101, and like at the back of the manual there was like all these different kind of configurements of like the faders and stuff, like like how to make a sound of a train and stuff like that. So you actually I kind of schooled myself in a way how to shape like a waveform or a tone, and like even say like I'm using a sampler, or even like sometimes like FX processors. I always like to get into the attack, decay, sustain, and release, and use the filters and stuff to basically to shape the sound to what I want. Like one of the exercises you used to do is just try and make like a snare drum from just like a tone. Like using a little bit of white noise and like a bit of resonance, and you cut off at the right place, and like sustain and stuff like that. And I thought like to myself, once you start getting into that, it's almost like instead of like just being able to snap a photograph, for want of a better word, or like just take a sample of something, like you would like basically shape it yourself to exactly what you want, so you get a really personal sound. Even if you use a sampler, it's nice to kind of tinker around. I mean, in the old days, it was like you'd go into a shop and there'd be like these keyboards, and like everything would have these presets in them, and people were like a little bit kind of, because the presets actually were a little bit more cheesier in them days and all. So it was like unthinkable to just like use like a raw sound how it was. You would like want to treat it, especially because we were recording on the tape and stuff.
Right, sure.
Once it went down on the tape, that was almost like it, so you would kind of compress it and you would clean it up. I mean, you get some bands that they would work like all day, or like they work for days on just like a snare or something, you know what I mean? Just to get everything right. And like now, because you can just download it, and there's 1,000,001 sounds, I find like a lot of the younger people are maybe not as focused on the sounds as we used to be. I mean, or maybe not as experimental. Some genres of music, because we used to really experiment a lot and try and make things a little bit more different, and freaky.
Right. There was actually a related question in the chat. Rogera, or Roger Ra, I'm not sure how to say his name, in the chat asks, how has the saturation of the music market affected you? Okay, I thought he was asking about saturation. Actually, I'll switch his question for a second because it is related. I'm curious how you feel about the loudness wars and the over compression of music nowadays.
Yeah, it's kind of related. I mean, I'm kind of like a sucker for dynamics. I love like dynamics. I mean, I love like having like a lot of bass in stuff. And unfortunately, with like the loudness thing, you can't really put so much bass in. You know, I mean, you can reach a certain level with it, but like what I tend to hear in a lot of places now is a lot of kind of a little bit of low mid and like a lot of high mid frequencies being used and not so much low. So for me, like the dynamics has changed, and yeah, everything's kind of like really lined off. If you look at the waveforms, like usually it's almost like there's like a really high kind of compression on it or something. It's not something that's I don't know. It's not something that I don't know. Maybe I could get used to it. I've actually got into a way of like using some kind of like rock guys to do some mastering for stuff because it's no like if I go to the kind of people who I'm giving my music to, it's always not loud enough. It used to be. And I'm like, well, yeah, so I mean, but like for my own personal music that I listen to at home, and that I always go for stuff with dynamics, and I mean, one of the horrible things is you can't reverse it either. So if you get someone's MP3 or CD and it's just like totally lined off by that, I mean, yeah, forms like totally like really straight.
I like that phrase, lined off. That's
you
good.
Can't. I don't think. There's nothing you can't reverse it. You know what I mean? So I always tend to, with my stuff, I'll leave it kind of not as compressed and a little bit more raw, but the stuff I give out, I'll try and make it as loud as possible because I think people are getting a little bit more, they're more used to that now.
Right.
But, I do miss the dynamics though in a lot of things. I mean, like the early jungle stuff was like amazing, the dynamics that you would get.
Oh yeah, totally. There's actually a question from Pushed Button in the chat. It's another one of these sort of historical looking questions. He says, the Manchester scene was a groundbreaking time for music. And do you think what's happening today is going to be remembered as back in the day in 20 years' time from now?
Probably, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of...
Did it feel groundbreaking at the time? Did you guys know you were groundbreaking?
No, I think we was just getting on with it, but it was different. There wasn't really anything to follow in a way. I mean, I remember doing a version of Blue Monday, like with Graham Massey, but like we didn't really do that many cover versions or remixes of things. It was more like new stuff, and I think like now what I've seen on YouTube is like a hell of a lot of remixes of old stuff and a lot of retro stuff going on, and I don't know. I suppose that happened and all in I think in the 80s and all. You had like this kind of in the late 80s. You had this kind of back to the 60s kind of thing, and in the early 90s. But then, like as soon as the acid house thing kicked in, everyone kind of not just jumped on it, but like they kind of realised there was this other type of thing. You know, I think when there's kind of a little bit of a lax for something new, or when everything kind of gets a little bit played out in a way, people tend to kind of, I don't know, go back into the past and find things and revamp them, you know, and make them into like something new. And especially if you come from an age where you've not heard that. I mean, like, I think the majority of people who are listening to like modern music now, or a lot of the music are probably they were born in the kind of early 90s,
yeah,
and stuff like that. So yeah, they wouldn't have seen like the 80s. So there's a lot of well, what I can see is there's a lot of 80s stuff and some 60s in the rock scene and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's another question from the chat. They're curious to know, I guess, what you think about the evolution of modern electronic music, particularly things like dubstep, and whether you would ever want to mix some of your style with dubstep in a live set.
I kind of, I do, well, not dubstep as dubstep to say, but I kind of, if I'm doing like a live set and I'm changing from like a kind of more like a techie house thing into jungle, I kind of go through this phase where I'm playing like breakbeaty stuff at about, say, 120, 126 to 130 kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And I use a lot of dynamics and a lot of low oscillating stuff. And that kind of sounds a bit like dubstep.
Okay.
It's just a transferring into the jungle stuff, like.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your live set, actually. I've got, just for people watching at home, we're going to be looking at some footage that I shot with you when you played in Stockholm earlier this month. And it'll just be a little B-roll loop for us while we're talking here. But your live set is interesting because you're using laptops live. You're not, it's not obviously not tape playback, but it's laptops not running Reactor or what's it called? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Tractor? It's a tractor. Guys, correct me in the
Tractor and
yeah. It's not that. You're running Reason live on two laptops, right?
Yeah, because I mean I actually tried a few. I mean, Reason was the very first thing I tried actually as well, apart from Cubase. The Reason was one of the first things I tried as a software, because for me it was synonymous with a studio. I was basically, I mean, like in the late 80s and early 90s, and I used to actually sleep underneath a mixing desk, so I can kind of do it with my eyes closed usually. The layout's pretty familiar to me on Reason, so I kind of fell into it really, really easy. And also, before I discovered MIDI, I was actually using CV and Gate, so that side of it really works for me and all. And I kind of can't play MP3s the way that I would want to play, and a lot of the stuff that's out today is really loud and not very dynamic. So I want to try and keep true to the sound that I had back then.
Sure.
And yeah, Reason totally works for me. It's like a studio in the box. I mean, when I was bringing like half a ton of gear with me and like having to go to cargo before I could check into my flight, and then like praying that they didn't think it was a bomb and took it apart, and then like when I got it, it was all in parts. So after that time, I decided, yeah, I'm gonna use a computer, and
right,
yeah, a lot of people kind of, I mean, I kind of, in a way, I always go against the grain, and a lot of people in the early days who were giving it all this, like, you should stick true to like the vinyl and blah blah.
Right, sure.
If you could find early footage of me on, maybe it's on YouTube, I'm not sure, but like I actually didn't use vinyl. I was using drum machines and stuff like that. There was this phase they called like the keyboard wizard phase, I think, like people like Adamski and stuff like that. And what do they call these blokes that works with Madonna? Orbital.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't use vinyl, we actually used keyboards and stuff like that, and everything was live and big and fat and dynamic. So yeah, I kind of, basically this is my version of that now. It's not as visual unless like you want to use a load of controllers, but yeah, you get like a sound, I mean, like there's only one way to actually experience it, and it would actually to come along to the show and like check it out. I mean, if I've got like a nice system, get me like a Function 1 system or something like that, and tell you, like you have like an experience.
It's really something to watch. I mean, I had the fortune of being up on the riser with you, so it's like I almost wish that they could set up a procession where people just kind of could walk behind you and kind of watch you, at the gig, because it's really something to watch. You're not just triggering samples and MP3s and queuing one track and then moving to another track. You've got two different mixes going, and you are manipulating every element of the synths, the drum machines, the mixers. I mean, it's...
Yeah. I mean, like, I've kind of thought of all sorts of ways of doing it, and I've kind of tried different controllers and stuff, but, like, there's none of them that kind of really fit that I could travel with, that are not going to get broken or taken apart by immigration or whatever it is.
Right.
But, but yeah, I'm thinking like maybe like a projector or actually a series of cameras. I'm thinking that are midied up.
Oh, right.
Really interesting way of doing it, but I'm kind of talking to some people about it because it's like I've actually got to show what's going on. Like, yeah, it would be interesting, I think, for some people, the people that are into the synths and stuff like that, to see what's happening, because I'm actually shaping sounds and stuff, and I can tell when it's a good night because, like, people start coming up and asking for requests. They think I'm playing records and stuff.
That's awesome. There's a question from Jimmy Games in the chat. He wants to know, how are the two laptops synced?
Well, that's an old DJ trick, and it's called, you basically got to go on the beat, like, bang. Find the tempo,
right.
and like, you bang it in. I mean, it's actually, it's easier than DJing. If you was DJing with, like, say, like, some old school, say, like, James Brown tunes, like, actually, James was pretty tight, but, like, there's a lot of old funk tunes and stuff, and, like, in the old days, we would use, like, these decks that weren't quartz tuned or whatever, so they would kind of go out and in and out, so you'd have to really slow them down and speed them up. But with a drum machine, everything's, I mean, with Reason, like, everything's really tight, so, like, all I've got to do is, like, press play in the right on the one, and then it's tight, it's in, you know what I mean?
Right, sure.
At the end of the track, I stop it, and then find the other track, load that up, and then do the same thing. It's really, really simple. It's really, really easy. I mean, like, syncing would be, in a way, it would be too easy, I mean, I've seen people, like, switching off when they're using, like, some of these other softwares, and they kind of just have, like, the one thing going, and then they throw things in that are going to be on time, and they forget to take something out, and they leave it going for the entire, like, night kind of thing, in a way. Yeah. I'm like, oh, please, like, get out, but I think... Sorry.
There's a question in the chat. Someone was asking about if you ever run into trouble. It's KR Zone. He asks, do you ever run into trouble fitting your two laptops up in the booth at clubs?
Sometimes there's a little bit of a problem, but, like, usually there's space for two turntables, and like I've got these stands that basically they can fit underneath the turntable, so the laptops go over the turntables.
Like sort of a case over top of the turntable.
Yeah. So I've usually got no trouble with that, and that's if they've not read the technical rider, where I've actually asked for maybe a space for my own stuff, because I also bring a mixer with me too, just like a DJ mixer.
Right.
The other day I discovered, like, this Rain mixer, which has two USBs. They built it for using for DJs that wanted to change over from one to the other. So, like, it's really sweet. I mean, I used to bring, like, loads of sound cards and stuff like that with me, but, like, now I've got this thing. I'll show you actually. So.
Cool. Oh, wow. Oh, I think that might be the one. Was that the one you would have been using at the beginning of the month when I was in Stockholm?
Yeah.
I've seen that in the footage. So is that your only sort of hardware controller item?
It is at the moment. Yeah, it actually has controllers down the sides and all. Yeah, two controllers here.
I see.
And well, I'm kind of not a real controller one. I'm still like in the computer, but like slowly, I think I've got stop and start. Like, let's say. But there is like EQs and.
And so that's what in the footage that I see, that when you're working the knobs on that mixer, you're doing just traditional EQ to kind of sit the songs together or fit the room.
Yeah. It's just like basically just doing the regular. What I do like in the studio is just try and build a sound in the room. And actually, I played in. Was in Dublin the other day, and like they gave me like an entire room to myself, like for the entire night, and that was great because I started off the night and just started tuning to what was in the room, you know, and like when there's not so many people in there at first, you don't have to use so much like highs and stuff, and you can keep it even like really dynamic, and so you know you can really work stuff like, and like if you know how to use like the Dr. Rex stuff and that, you know, or Dr. Rex,
right?
You can actually like filter stuff in, so it feels just right, and you know you get a sense for the room. I mean, like you got to be really sensitive on your monitors. You don't scream the monitors right up, so you're encased in your own sound. You've got to kind of feel what's going on, taste what's going on in the room, and you know you can really get a feel for you know the people start to feel comfortable, especially if you don't put so many high frequencies in at first. You know, there's not so many people in the room. You don't have to really tear their ears out. You know, you can keep it pretty warm. So I kind of do this shape so everything's kind of, there's a lot of lows and a little bit of highs and not so much, and then slowly as people come in I'll kind of use a bit more mid stuff and that and just try and watch the levels and stuff, but yeah, the mixer is pretty cool for that kind of thing and all, but like everything, I mean I don't really have to touch a mixer. Everything that I really need is in the box, really. It's in Reason. There's a lot of stuff in there. And
so a couple of questions that were in the chat. One person asks, a rhythm maker asks, with all these tracks that you're doing, you must go through a lot of songs in a night. Is that true?
Yeah, I can do.
Yeah.
I can do. I mean, I've got way more than enough tunes to do a regular night.
Sure.
Like in the box. So, I mean, like if I was just gonna stick to old stuff, it would be like a couple of hours. And like there's always, I mean, I'm doing new stuff all the time too. Right. So
you got to work that in. Rukafest wants to know: does inspiration ever strike in the middle of a live performance and turn into a sort of live production session? Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Interesting. Yeah, and like now I've got like the mixer kind of hooked up. It can actually I can record from one computer onto the other. You know, if there was something there, and like maybe like chop it up a little bit. But I'm also at the same time I always like record the sets. So if there's anything like new going on, I can always like make note of it and like start working on it later. Just press save. That's great. There's a question from Jimmy Games. He says, have you ever had a laptop lock up and freeze during a live show? I've had someone chuck a beer on one and I had to like empty it out. I was like kind of doing this all empty. Like just press play on the other one and that goes, you know. I mean, like usually, I mean, it'd be a bad night if like I had to switch to CDs or something. If both broke, but that's never happened really. But so you've never had a crash though? I mean, aside from actually, I've never really had a crash with Reason. I mean, I'm finding it really frustrating to use like as much CPU as possible. It doesn't go there. I mean, for what I do, because I'm pretty basic when it comes to. I mean, like I come from a time where we used like one drum machine, 2 keyboards, and a 303, and like that was an orchestra, you know. So like you used little to make a lot. Like, I mean, like now it's like downloading like loads of. I've been working with people and they're like, oh, check this out and check that out, and they've got all like
all these keyboards, and they go, "Oh yeah, I've just downloaded this keyboard," and like, you know, and they go, "Wow, wow, 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 wow." Like, that's what they do on that keyboard, and this one's like. I'm like, oh god! Can you imagine that back in the days? You'd be.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my friend's a multi-billionaire. He buys like a keyboard and like plays only one note on it, and then goes. Yeah, but yeah, we had to really. I sound like an old fat tickering on now, but like, yeah, we really had to make the most of everything. You know,
right.
It's like SH-101 was like my bass machine. Also did like some of the high things. If I was in the studio, like I think when I was doing Voodoo Ray, I used like the one SH-101, but it did like 3 different bass parts, and then like the 303 did a part, and there was. Like the drum machine, like I'd split up, and that did things, and then you was really kind of once everything was recorded onto tape, you'd have to record it as clean as possible onto tape, and then you would go into another phase of like putting like effects and stuff like that, you know, on the sounds, and then once you've like got your effects and that, you would do your mix down, you know. That's I mean. There was like 3 different phases of working, and so you didn't really have that much. If you had that much time to kind of fit like, I don't know, 5 or 6 different keyboards into the one track, you'd be like, you know, you'd be making like really big kind of orchestra kind of sounds, like Vangelis kind of thing.
Yeah, right, okay.
But like for like the kind of dance music that we're doing, you actually hardly need that much reverb, to tell you the truth, you know, unless you're going to go all 80s and put like that snare reverb, you know, the gated reverb on the snare. Right,
okay. There was a... where did it go now? So one person, a rhythm maker, was curious as to what laptops you're using, the actual laptops model, I guess, is it?
The MacBook Pros.
Gotcha.
They're pretty sturdy.
There's some people in the chat asking to hear. I've got some sound from this gig that I'm playing here, the footage of. So I'm going to see if I can turn it up for us here.
Okay.
And give them a little bit of sound. So hang on 1 second with me. See if this works, guys. Nope. Hang on. Here. Then I'll go back. Are you hearing it? Oh, maybe you are hearing music.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no, they're getting music. No, you're not getting it. They are. We'll just let it play a little bit for them. That's just a taste of what we were looking at there, but I think people get an idea of the sound and the basic idea. I mean, you're manipulating these synths live in real time. You're manipulating the drums live in real time. It's quite a sight to behold, really, and to hear too. I mean, it's really just it's neat to watch you. It's like DJs all often talk about they react to the room and they sort of adapt to the room, but. That's usually in like song selection or maybe some effects they're putting on the mixer, but you literally can adapt your entire song to the room.
Yeah, I mean, I can. I mean, there's a lot of things I can pre-do before, but I like to keep it really open, so as loose as possible. So, I mean, like every single kind of drum machine bit, I'll have like maybe a few variations that I can use in there, and especially if I'm going to do something. Like I've done a few remakes of like old classics because like people they want to hear some of the old stuff too. So I've done a few remakes, but then I'll kind of add like my own kind of stuff in there, and not just like percussion loops, but I'll actually write different parts for some old classic stuff, and then just over the kind of time of playing it, I can like add different parts into it, and actually, play some keys over the top of
I see.
and stuff like that. But like, I want to try and keep it as loose as possible and not as structured. I find now, like when I'm doing, like sometimes I'll do kind of like DJ gigs, and I kind of you can get really frustrated. I want to actually get into the vinyl and kind of take the snare out when I don't want it and stuff like that, but keep the bass, or just reverse bits of it, and just it's hard to actually tweak something enough. And I mean, when you're actually playing an instrument, it's a difference between taking a photograph, I suppose, and actually painting the picture. You can you have a little bit more control over the end result, when you paint it. Rather than you just grabbing snaps of things. Right.
That's an interesting analogy. Totally. And in terms of the Reason Rec, are you a subtractor guy? Are you a Maelstrom guy? A Thor guy? What's your?
Well, my main thing is still, as far as synths, is still the subtractor, because I've kind of built like my own like little library over the years in there. But I've actually got into Thor a little bit, but it's pretty deep, man. It's like
totally.
It's like if that was a key. I always think to myself though, if that was a keyboard back in the days, it would have been probably the size of an SSL desk or something.
Totally.
It's amazing. I mean, I do actually get into it every now and again. If I'm on a flight or something somewhere, I'll get into it, or I'll actually, one of the things I've done and all is like downloaded a few like Thor patches from the internet and kind of reverse engineered them to see like how people have used like the audio in there and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's interesting, It's like it's a big keyboard.
Sure.
Big keyboard in a little box.
I also wanted to ask you about some refills that you may use. I don't know if you've seen. There's a guy in our user community called Pef, and he's put out 303 refills, 808 refills. And have you seen them and used them?
Yeah, very useful actually. Yeah. When I think I first seen Pef. Might have been on this site called Reason Station. And he was like pretty. I mean, he was basically there from Rebirth onwards, I think. So.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, it was absolutely. It's pretty cool, actually. I mean, like, and the tools that he's making are pretty cool too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's, when you look at his when he does this, when he samples like the 808, for example. He goes so in depth about sampling, every possible nuance and knob twist that you could do, and then he lays it out for you rather logically on a Kong, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah. I think that we're spoiled now having people like him around.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, totally. I was talking to someone yesterday, and he was talking about how he was going to go out on the road, and he had sampled his drum kit so that he could play his actual drums on the road, and he sampled it, and then he thought, this is it's a pain in the ass, I don't have time, so then he just loaded up a Reason drum kit refill and was like, oh, that works. Okay.
Yeah, it's so much out there now. It's amazing. I think the art actually is knowing what you want and how to get there. I think that's it now, because everything and more is there. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of, in a way, I'm kind of a little bit kind of frightened for like new people kind of coming into it, because you can be like bombarded by so many different things. It's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's exciting because I remember the kind of like some of the very first like plugins, and actually, I remember I think I was in Tokyo at the time when I discovered Rebirth, and I was. I think I was actually talking to this bloke who was like a computer scientist, and like I says, like they've made a software version of an 808 and a 303, and I was like, this totally means that everything changes now. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
can kind of do stuff that like you've never done before and save it, and 'cause that was one of the things before you had to have, well, me personally, I had to have like tape, like I used to record onto like 24 track multi-track thing, and it was like, I think it was like every tape cost something like, I don't know, like £100 or something like that back then. It's
Right.
really expensive, like this Ampex tape. I don't think they make it anymore even. But yeah, so like I had to really think about the stuff before I put it onto tape. It was like,
Right.
and it was like you basically got at 15 ips, which was like you get a better quality, but you could do it at half the speed, and you would get a little bit more hiss.
Oh, okay.
Only 30 minutes max you could get on I think it was 30 minutes. 20 or 30 minutes you could get maximum on a tape. So I mean, like, to do like an album, like you would have to have it at 15 so you could get like a really good quality. And so you'd have to have all your ideas kind of, if not worked out, you would work it out on the tape as you were going. But then if you got something wrong, you would have to erase that and go, so you couldn't really save things like now. Unless, I mean, like, you could save things on DAT. I used to save things on DAT and all, and floppy disks.
Right.
Yeah.
God, the DAT, just the word DAT brings up bad memories for me.
Yeah, that whistle that, when it ripped or something, you get
Yeah.
this. Oh, God.
There's a question from Emotica. He wants to know, do you assign parameters on the fly live, or is it all preset and ready for each song? So do you have certain things that are already set up to control filters and envelopes, and do you know what you're going to tweak?
No, I'm actually going in there like pretty raw and just like tweaking bits and pieces that I want. So like I've got say like a 303 sound, and like I've done like a breakdown on the drums or something, and I want to highlight the 303 in there, and I'll just go to like the Subtractor or something and just like kind of tweak it a little bit, and then maybe drop back in with the drums and then take it back down. It's kind of, in a way, intuitive. It's like how I would have kind of done it on the drum machine in a way, and the 303s, but I'm doing it in the box. But I mean, like, one of the things I do and all is like I listen back to some mixes, and there's things that work, and I'll try and recreate that again live. But actually, just, I mean, I've done it before where I've actually tweaked some stuff and just basically automated everything and just pressed play. But I've got a few tracks like that actually, and like it's like if I'm really kind of, if I need to do something else, then I would basically put one of these tracks on, like these emergency kind of pre-automated things. But it's you kind of, I mean, for me, I get really frustrated, I get really fidgety if I'm just stood there and like I'm like, it's like a playback, it's like almost like the old school days of people turning up with a DAT and like miming like the DJ and stuff,
Right.
They did that. I can't believe that.
Really?
Yeah, people did that. I can't remember any of the names of the people that did that, but
Wow. Well, what would be your advice, if you had any, for people that are they're making music at home, they're going out to gig, but maybe they're not daring enough, or maybe they didn't know it was even possible, that they're not taking their live Reason files out with them live. What would be your advice to people for getting into this?
I would try it. Maybe bring like some CDs or something with you, but just bring it's not so hard to bring a laptop, and maybe just plug it in, and just meanwhile if you've got a BPM counter on your mixer or whatever, just try and just fire it in, maybe even just a kick at first, and then just maybe add a few sounds or whatever, and then just see if you could just totally take it on its own with just live. I mean, just really just rip into it, just take everything else out. But yeah, and I would also try at home to do some exercises. Get a tone. Say you just use just a pure tone in Subtractor, and maybe consciously say, okay, I'm gonna make this sound like a certain keyboard or instrument that and then basically just try using
Oh, we broke up a little bit there. Let's see here. Could it be that we drop a Skype call on the last minutes of our last broadcast of the month? Oh, we did! My gosh! All right, let's get him back on here, guys. My goodness, look at that! How's that for a nearly perfect record? It's the gods of Skype or Ustream or Music Making Month telling us it's time to shut down. Let's see if we can get him back on here. I will say this, though, we are going to be wrapping up, so do shoot in if you have any last questions here, guys. But time for the cake rind? Yeah. I'm off traveling tomorrow. Actually, it's time for me to. I'm going to go to bed, get up, and then pack my bags, and phew, I'm off. Let's see here. Oh, nothing yet. Oh, that might be an early goodbye for us to Gerald. Let's see what we come up with here. Oh, do we have him? Are you back there, Gerald?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. That was. It's amazing. In the last minutes of our. Oh, go ahead and hit your video button too. In the last minutes of our Music Making Month, we've dropped our first Skype call of the entire month. Unbelievable. I would like to blame that maybe somebody spilled a beer on my laptop, but that's not the case.
It's all right. It's all good.
Well, so Zion, you're correcting me. Yes, it was our second Skype drop, but the other one happened so quick. I don't know if I really count that one. Okay, but so listen, we were kind of wrapping up anyway. So but I didn't want to leave it with you that way. So I'm glad we got you back here. I just, I wanted to thank you for making yourself available and for talking to everybody here, and for showing that this is a way that you can go out, you can take your music out in the format you produce it in and perform it in the same format without having to convert it. Just, we all know Reason. We can modify our and adapt our tracks live. So you've sort of yet again are pioneering the way in that regard. So. Thanks for sharing it with us tonight.
No problem, man. No problem. That's been a pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you all for tuning into here, and
Absolutely, you are the final act here in Music Making Month. So, it's like the headline act, I guess, in a concert gig. But there were, instead of 4 bands before you, there was 30.
Wow. I'll have to check some of them out. Actually, I've not been that instrumental in. I've actually been staying away from Facebook and things like this because it's actually on the same computer. So
right.
I've got
keep it. I've done that too. I put my laptop in the other room when I'm working on video stuff because it's I know what I'll do. I'll just, I'm waiting on something to render. I'll just...
Exactly, yeah. I've got to make more tracks, so...
Right. Awesome. Well, Gerald, thanks so much, and we will be seeing you soon. And is there anything you can plug for us? Or you got a new stuff in the works, or new tour coming up, or any shows?
Well, I've kind of got like an American tour which starts on Monday. So I'm kind of over there for 2 weeks.
Oh, great. Where are you going to be? Like New York, LA, that sort of place?
New York, LA, Washington, San Francisco, Chicago, Portland. Yeah, I think that's it.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, if I was back in San Francisco where I live, I would be out to your gig for sure, but I will likely still be in Stockholm. So.
Nice food out there, though.
Where, in San Francisco?
In Stockholm.
Oh, in Stockholm. That's true. Well, both, really.
I was really surprised, actually.
Oh, yeah? No, it's good. They know what they're doing up here. So, awesome. Well, take care, Gerald. Thanks a bunch again, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks. All right. See you later, man.
Well, guys. Oh, my God. It's the end. It's, What do we say? Music Making Month is officially over. Oh, I know, the chat room. Oh. Look, this is not goodbye. This is only, what is the saying? I don't know. There's probably some saying that's very poignant, and if I were more well-read, I could pull it out right now. But look, you guys have been awesome. This month has been awesome. We've had a ball with it here at Propellerhead. I hope you guys have had half as much fun as we've had putting it on. And we'll do this again. Let's do this again, right? I don't know in what form and I don't know when, but let's do it again, right? Cool. I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of Gerald playing live tonight. I'll see if I can get this, let's see if I can turn the sound back up on it so you can actually hear it. And he will play us out. I'll leave it going for a bit. You guys can check it out and enjoy it. Have a good night, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. I'll see you again soon.